To recession or not to recession? That's the talk of the last couple of days when the US GDP numbers came out. Turns out the USA are technically in a recession, but before someone tries to act smart and scare you, maybe watch this. GDP stands for Gross Domestic Product and is basically the value of all the goods and services in a particular economy. Figures for this quarter came in where it was announced that the US had shrunk at an annualized rate of 0.9%, following the previous quarter falling by 1.6%. Now, the standard definition of a recession is just 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth, which the US now have. But this is more of a basic definition by some economists because there's much more to it. With the figures falling, it sounds all bad news, right? Well, the people over at the National Bureau of Economic Research don't think so. Unlike the economist definition, they don't use this 2 consecutive quarter thing. They have more of a, if it looks like a recession and it acts like a recession and it tastes like a recession, then it might be. Furthermore, these guys look at more things than just GDP. They usually look at various indicators, job growth, consumer spending, consumer confidence, over more of a longer period. I mean, their actual job is to decide if the US is in a recession, so we should probably listen to them. The markets also didn't seem to care too much either. In fact, the markets went up. The unemployment rate is pretty much back to pre-COVID times at 3.6%, and while inflation is a big word at the moment, there were 2.7 million jobs created in the US in the first half of 2022. Because the US news is so important economically speaking, it's definitely a small sign of relief for us here in Australia. Some parts are good, some parts are not so good. Time will tell where we go from this point, but overall, and just so we're clear, the US aren't actually in a recession.